Let's jump back into XRP here. Got the one-day chart up, and look at that. We're parked at $2.18. Earlier today, things got interesting. XRP looked like a coiled spring ready to launch, then whoomp, tumbled right back down, copying Bitcoin's nosedive. Switch to the 1 week, and it's obvious. We're doing this whole crab walk thing, basically twiddling our thumbs until the next pump arrives. But geez, the pessimism cloud hanging over XRP right now is wild. These articles won't stop popping up asking, XRP, any chance of touching $3 ever again? That whole doom spiral. But real talk, I gotta level with you. A serious breakout is definitely coming our way. Right now, we're basically Bitcoin's shadow, and Bitcoin's camped out just shy of $91,000. Same head fake happened there earlier too. Climbed like it had somewhere important to be, then face planted. This market's honestly just tease after tease at this point, and everyone's sitting around refreshing charts waiting for the fireworks to actually start. No kidding, people's patience is running on fumes, just watching the clock, hoping something finally shifts. But trust me on this, when it breaks, you're going to forget all about this boring stretch. Once the real movement kicks in, the energy that's going to flood the community, off the hook. Late November was the target everyone circled on their calendars, remember? Now December predictions are all anyone's discussing. We've been camped out in anticipation mode for months and months now. It's practically a script at this point. XRP shows genuine muscle, then boom, some wild global chaos erupts, tanking Bitcoin, and Bitcoin just steamrolls everything else downward. Manipulation accusations are absolutely everywhere in the space right now. My theory? The original Bitcoin veterans are trimming their bags, and the Wall Street suits are quietly hoovering everything up during the sell-off. All right, so eventually all this turbulence is going to die down, and once it does, Bitcoin's going to fire up and start climbing, bringing the entire market up with it on that ride. Now let me show you the fear and greed index. We're at 20 right now, which means the panic is actually starting to melt away. And here's my take on why that's happening. People are finally catching on to the fact that, yeah, we just saw this massive sell-off go down, but you know what didn't happen? The world didn't end. Nothing actually broke in the crypto space. All we saw was a big dump followed by a recovery bounce. That's literally it. Now everyone's just sitting tight, waiting for that next major leg up to start. XRP on the verge of 13%. Santa rally breakout, but do not get too comfortable. Exactly what I've been telling you. December's got everyone laser focused because we're coming up on the end of the month fast. But here's the interesting part. This kind of sideways grinding action typically signals to experienced traders that the market hasn't rejected the idea of going higher. It just hasn't decided to hand us that move yet. The entire setup mirrors what you'd frequently observe right before a big surge takes off. And that's exactly where this whole 13% Santa rally theory is coming from. I've been repeating this. The market's been screaming bullish signals for XRP all year long. I literally spent the whole year pointing out, hey, this is the cleanest, strongest chart in the entire crypto market right now. You can watch the breakout setting up plain as day. But here's the catch. When's the market actually going to pull the trigger on it? That's the question keeping everyone up at night. Odds of XRP having a positive return by the end of the year is now at 69%, so those chances are creeping higher as well. The optimism around a December breakout is spreading fast among traders, but let's be real, we've still got time left on the clock this month. Could be this Sunday when things finally pop off, who knows? Because let me tell you something, when this breakout actually arrives, it's going to blindside everyone. You'll be minding your business, glance down at your screen, and suddenly XRP's tearing upward like a rocket, moving so insanely fast you'll barely process what's happening. That's the nature of these explosive moves. Analyst Paul Goldeagle says XRP is now where Ethereum was in 2017 before a 20x explosion. Here's what cracks me up. Traders constantly pull up these comparison charts, stacking XRP against Tesla's legendary rally, Amazon's historic growth, Ethereum's meteoric rise, or even that bonkers 2017 to 18 XRP bull run. And you know what? The price action right now genuinely mirrors that 2017 to 18 cycle we witnessed. Nothing's really contradicted that forecast, except we've been stuck in limbo forever, waiting for liftoff to actually commence. But hitting a 20 times return? Yeah, that's completely realistic for XRP. I'm watching traders call out insane targets like $300 before the ball drops on New Year's. Will we actually get there? Your guess is as good as mine. Remember, the market structure legislation isn't happening in 2025. We're looking at January before it even reaches the president's desk, so that piece is still off the board. What about Ripple snagging their banking license before year end? That's pretty much off the table now. We're realistically talking early 2026 for that milestone to hit. So what's going to be the match that lights this fire? XRP needs to vanish from over-the-counter operations and dark pools, choking off supply and manufacturing genuine scarcity, which would slam ETF institutions into a frenzy hunting for coins on public exchanges. That domino effect might be exactly what triggers the explosion. Hopefully we witness that sequence play out before we flip into next year. Analyst says XRP is testing everyone's patience and majority is folding under pressure. I've personally watched absolute veterans, people who've weathered every storm in this market for years straight, suddenly bail on XRP like it's nothing. And I genuinely can't tell if they actually believe the negativity they're spreading, or if they've just realized that bearish hot takes generate way more clicks and attention for their channels these days. Okay, real talk about XRP and all the negativity floating around. Here's the bottom line. This is basically a masterclass in patience. If you can handle what's happening right now, you're pretty much bulletproof for whatever comes next. I've been saying this forever. Once those dips stop scaring you, you've already won. You're going to the finish line because every single day you hold, your patience gets tougher. So there's this analyst who came out and said, XRP is not bearish in the slightest. Listen, not everyone's out here acting like the sky is falling with XRP. There are people who actually understand what's going on. They're looking at the data and seeing that XRP isn't bearish even a little bit. When you study that chart properly, what does it tell you? It's coiling up, getting ready for a breakout that's coming soon. The only requirement is that you need to be holding when it pops off. What's crazy to me is the number of people talking about selling now and jumping back in later. Friends, that strategy is absolutely the dumbest move you could make right now. Let me be clear with you. When XRP decides to run, it's not going to send you a calendar invite. You're not going to wake up to some earth-shattering announcement that triggers the pump. It's just going to explode, and the majority of people won't be ready for it. Want to know why? Because they're so consumed by all the FUD that when the move finally starts, their instant reaction will be, oh great, it's just going to dump right back down anyway. No need to panic. And you know what's going to happen. People are going to bail out ridiculously early because there's going to be a million voices yelling that the peak is here. Block all that out. If you actually want to win in crypto, you need a plan that's yours and yours alone. Something you follow no matter how loud the crowd gets. Here's something interesting. ETFs have only a few options to buy XRP, and escrow isn't one of them. There's this whole misconception going around where people think Ripple's just going to ship their escrowed XRP straight to ETF providers like Franklin Templeton, Canary, and the rest. But that's not how this works at all. Chad Steingraber argued that XRP ETFs cannot purchase XRP from Ripple's escrow under current US rules. This restriction stemmed from the 2023 court ruling in the Ripple versus SEC case. Notably, the court stated that Ripple's institutional sales of XRP under contracts constituted unregistered securities offerings. Now here's the twist. Program sales on public exchanges were not securities offerings. Ripple has since received a waiver allowing it to raise capital from accredited investors, but this does not restore the ability to sell XRP directly to institutional buyers. As a result, institutional investors and ETF issuers must source XRP from the open market, not from Ripple. So these big institutions can't just knock on Ripple's door and cut a deal. Vincent Van Code confirmed the same thing. Don't forget, the ETF fund managers cannot buy XRP directly from Ripple, and hence it's escrow due to the court injunction. It must be blind sale open market. That means the market. So we will see a slight period where the prices may not move sharply as Ripple sells its monthly escrow on open market on par with demand volume from the ETFs, but Ripple will only sell what it needs. It too doesn't want to pay capital gains tax on its XRP sales and prefers to keep it in escrow. Here's the picture. What's coming on December 1st is Ripple opening up, 1 billion tokens getting released, and there's a good chance around 700 million of those are getting locked right back into escrow. If that doesn't happen though, we'll actually get some solid intel on how desperate these ETFs are for XRP. December 1st is when we'll know for real, but here's what matters. Ripple is legally blocked from selling escrow straight to the ETF providers. Now there's another angle people keep bringing up. They're saying Ripple Prime is going to keep any supply shortage from happening. Ripple Prime does not prevent the supply shock. In fact, it accelerates and amplifies it in the medium to long term. Ripple Prime acts as a highly efficient institutional on-ramp over the desk plus prime brokerage that allows ETF issuers and large funds to buy massive amounts of XRP quickly, cleanly, and in a regulated way. Instead of these purchases hitting public exchanges and causing immediate violent price spikes, they are absorbed off exchange through Ripple Prime. This creates the illusion of calm in the short term, but it dramatically reduces the actual circulating supply even faster. Why Ripple Prime makes the supply shock worse? ETFs must buy real XRP. Every dollar flowing into the no-spot XRPFS, Franklin Templeton, and so on forces the issuers to acquire actual XRP and lock it in custody. Ripple Prime is the main pipeline. Most of these large block purchases are executed via Ripple Prime's over-the-counter desk, meaning the XRP is pulled directly from liquidity providers and sent straight to cold storage. It never returns to exchanges. Exchange reserves are already collapsing. Circulating XRP on exchanges has hit a 12-month low and continues to drop 1 to 3 million XRP per day. So what Ripple Prime actually does is make the supply crunch happen even faster. We're probably going to hit a scarcity situation. My guess is sometime in the middle of November. XRP holders might be celebrating big time this Christmas, and I'm totally cool with that possibility. People are freaking out over CoinShares withdrawing their XRP ETF filing, but they're missing the entire plot. This isn't bearish at all. Small issuers step aside when bigger players are about to dominate a market, and XRP is ETF lane. Is filling with heavy weights like 21 Shares Wisdom, Tree Fidelity, and BlackRock. Just so you know, BlackRock hasn't entered the game yet. We can exit serious institutions, enter the stages getting cleared for XRP's real ETF era. Yeah, I buy that completely. CoinShares probably saw how jammed up the ETF filing queue already was and thought, you know what, we're out for now. Maybe they reconsider later on, but honestly, their pullout isn't something that worries me much. Now look what Franklin Templeton's been doing. They just pulled in another 79 million XRP for Franklin Templeton's ETF. The available supply will run out faster than many people think. 3 days of activity, and the numbers are absolutely crazy. 76,001,343 XRP accumulated in that short window. And based on what I'm watching, this buying frenzy isn't about to cool off. Just like I pointed out earlier in the video, XRP is parked at $2.18 right now. And yeah, the chart doesn't look pretty. People are going, XRP's dumping again, total garbage coin. Same old negativity on repeat. But here's what you need to understand. When the breakout starts, you absolutely have to be holding XRP already. Look at the weekly view and you'll spot it. Pressure building for the next upward explosion. When that explosion finally triggers, there's a real chance we blow straight through $3 in the blink of an eye. Always be positioned for the breakout because it's going to catch everyone off guard. Until that day arrives, keep your head clear and your outlook bright. All right, folks, that wraps things up for today. Really appreciate you spending time here with me. See you in the next video.